Let's go. One in the chat when you can hear.
We are here for an amazing moment, looking at one of New York City own, Harlem own. I am so proud to look at the recognition of what this brother has done. Getting the key to the city from the bad boy of politics. Give your hand together to Sean P. Diddy Combs, our brother. Giving it up for him. Show him some love.
He already has the keys to some pretty exclusive places, and now Sean Diddy Combs can add New York City to that list. It's Diddy Day.
The bad boy of entertainment is getting the key to the city from the bad boy of politics.
I want to thank y'all for this honor and just recognizing me, being from New York, giving me the key to the city. Diddy finally has the key to the city.
That one didn't age quite so well.
You've been very outspoken about breaking the cycle of domestic violence in New York City. And given everything that's developed over the weekend with P. Diddy, what are you thinking about possibly rescinding the honor that you gave him last year when you presented him with the key to the city?
I think all of us were deeply disturbed by watching that chilling video of the young lady being assaulted by him and the committee and the team. We've never rescinded a key before, but we are now sitting down to see what the next steps forward are going to be.
So you are considering it?
We are taking everything under analysis, and the team will come back with me with a final determination.
All right. New tonight, Sean Diddy Combs returned his honorary key to the city at the request of Mayor Eric Adams. The Harlem native was awarded the key last September, but returned it on June 10th. The mayor's request was sent following the release of this video, which depicts Combs attacking R&B singer Cassie in the hallway of a Los Angeles hotel. In the request for the key's return, Mayor Adams wrote, quote, "I strongly condemn these actions and stand in solidarity with all survivors of domestic and gender-based violence."
DJ, hold up, DJ. DJ, hold up, stop the music. Stop the music, DJ.
Today, I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution. The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice. Let me say a little bit more about the charges. The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years, and in a variety of ways. As alleged, Combs used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sexual performances with male commercial sex workers, some of whom he transported or caused to be transported over state lines. Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial sex workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics, such as ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB, which Combs distributed to the victims to keep them obedient and compliant. As alleged, when Combs didn't get his way, he was violent, and he subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse so that they would participate in the freak-offs, and that Combs hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair. On one occasion in March of 2016, that conduct was captured on video, and later reported in the media. Specifically, Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a victim in a Los Angeles hotel when the victim was attempting to flee. As alleged, these assaults often resulted in injuries to the victims, which took days or weeks to heal. In addition to the violence, the indictment alleges that Combs threatened and coerced victims to get them to participate in the freak-offs. He used the embarrassing and sensitive recordings he made of the freak-offs as collateral against the victims. And the indictment alleges that he maintained control over the victims in several ways, including by giving them drugs, by giving and threatening to take away financial support or housing, by promising them career opportunities, by monitoring their whereabouts, and even by dictating their physical appearance. Because of all of this, the indictment alleges that the victims did not believe they could refuse Combs without risking their security or facing more abuse. The indictment also alleges other acts of violence undertaken by Combs and others, including violence against witnesses to his abuse, kidnapping, and arson. The indictment alleges that on more than one occasion, Combs carried or brandished firearms to intimidate and threaten victims and witnesses. Now, Combs did not do this all on his own. As I mentioned, Combs has been charged with RICO conspiracy. He used his business and employees of that business and other close associates to get his way. Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff. The indictment alleges that those individuals facilitated the freak-offs. They booked the hotel rooms and stocked them with the supplies, including drugs, baby oil, personal lubricant, extra linens, and lighting. When the hotel rooms got damaged, they helped clean it up. They arranged for victims and commercial sex workers to travel for the freak-offs, and they delivered large quantities of cash to Combs to pay for the commercial sex workers. The indictment also alleges that they helped Combs cover up his crimes. During the March 2016 incident at the LA hotel that I mentioned earlier, a member of the hotel security staff intervened, and Combs attempted to bribe the staff member with a stack of cash to make sure that what happened was kept quiet. And as the indictment alleges, in late 2023, after public allegations were made about Combs's crimes, he and others pressured witnesses and victims to stay silent, including by making phone calls to witnesses and victims and giving them a false narrative of what they had experienced. And as alleged, Combs used others to help conceal his abuse by monitoring and preventing victims from leaving a location in order to hide their injuries, or by locating and contacting a victim who had attempted to flee. As part of this investigation, in March of this year, special agents from HSI executed search warrants at Combs's residences in Miami and Los Angeles. They also executed a warrant for Combs's electronic devices. During those searches, agents seized evidence of the crimes charged in this indictment. They seized firearms and ammunition, including 3 defaced AR-15s and a large capacity drum magazine. They also seized evidence of the freak-offs, electronic devices that contain images and videos of the freak-offs with multiple victims. And they seized cases and cases of the kinds of personal lubricant and baby oil that Combs' staff allegedly used to stock hotel rooms for the freak-offs, more than 1,000 bottles altogether. Here are some of the items that we recovered during the searches. As you can see here, this is a drum magazine, large capacity, and it contains, I believe, 59 rounds. I mentioned as well, we recovered 3 AR-15s. This is a close-up shot of one of the AR-15s, and you can see right here, the serial number has been thoroughly defaced. Another picture of more ammunition and parts of 2 AR-15s right there. Now, I want to be clear about 2 things. First, this office is determined to investigate and prosecute anyone who engages in sex trafficking, no matter how powerful or wealthy or famous you may be. No one should doubt our commitment on that. A year ago, Sean Combs stood in Times Square and was handed a key to New York City. Today, he's been indicted and will face justice in the Southern District of New York. Second, we are not done. This investigation is ongoing, and I encourage anyone with information about this case to come forward and to do it quickly. Anyone with information can call 1-877-4HSI-TIP. I want to express my deep appreciation for the victims and witnesses who have used their voices and helped bring this criminal conduct to light. We would not be here without them. I also want to thank the dedicated case agents on the HSI Trafficking in Person Squad in New York. They have been with us since day one and have worked tirelessly on this investigation. They will continue to be invaluable partners to us. I also want to thank the incredible agents and analysts from SCNY who have also provided tremendous assistance on this case. I'm deeply grateful for their continued work. And finally, I want to thank the outstanding career prosecutors from SCNY who are handling this case. Meredith Foster, Emily Johnson, Chrissy Slavic, Madison Smizer, and Mitzi Steiner, and their supervisors, Jamie Backleeper and Jacqueline Kelly. They are members of the Civil Rights Unit in our criminal division. We created the Civil Rights Unit when I became U.S. Attorney. I'm deeply proud of their work on this and so many other cases.
Yo, hit that light for a deal with Christian. Yo, for a deal.
I'm just talking away, man. Good gracious, man. Rookie mistake. Shout out to the Restoring Hero Project. Thank you so much. Let's talk about some of these things, the similarities and differences between it. All right, as we talked about already, both of these are RICOs. So the YSL and the YSL and the Diddy case are both RICOs. And of course, we know that to be the Racketeering, Influence, and Corrupt Organization Act. And we'll talk about the one difference in the Diddy case in a moment. We talk about the differences. Young Thug is being tried as a gang activity, while Diddy's RICO case is related to human trafficking and other criminal enterprise activities. And we heard about that as well. All right, criminal enterprise allegations. Both cases involve accusations of using their respective music entities and empires as fronts for illegal activities. In Young Thug, it was gang activity and gang violence, whereas in Diddy is accused of trafficking S workers and exploitation and all that kind of good stuff. Now, the use of associates. And as I'm going through these, you're probably checking boxes, especially if you've been rocking with me on the YSL trial, that a lot of those, you don't hear these in the YSL trial. I know. Use of associates. Both men allegedly used the network of associations to carry out their criminal activities. Young Thug is said to have coordinated gang activities, while Diddy is alleged to have enlisted others in the trafficking and the coercion, as well as the violence and crime. And drugs. Public figures. Both of them are public figures. Of course, we just saw Diddy get the key to the city, for crying out loud. And Young Thug is a Grammy-nominated rapper, okay? Multiple defendants. Now, this is where I think it really gets interesting. And we'll talk about it in the differences as well. Both cases involve numerous other individuals. Young Thug's case has several co-defendants linked to the gang activities, while Diddy's indictment hints at more arrests related to his case that may follow. The reason I want to bring this up, and I want to talk about it real quick, is Diddy's case, they arrested Diddy first. And now they're going to go get all the other underlings. Whereas, in my opinion, in the YSL case, they went for the underlings to capture and get the main figure, the big fish that they talked about in court, which was Jeffrey Williams, Young Thug, which I think is kind of interesting how they went about it in two different ways, but we'll get into a little bit more in the differences as well. Wealth and influence. Both men have immense wealth and influence and central to these cases. Diddy's fortunes is under threat and his asset forfeiture, as well as Young Thug's wealth, has helped sustain the YSL, according to his prosecutors. So because they have money, that's part of their, again, nobody's going to sue a broke person. So because they have money, that's going to be part of the big issue. Let's go to number 7. Music and lyrics as evidence. Lyrics and social media posts are being used in both cases. Young Thug's song lyrics are cited as evidence of criminal intent, while Diddy's use of recordings from his S parties may be used in further the prosecution's case. So thankfully, we will not be seeing the evidence, but apparently there's some pretty horrible things that are showing up in Diddy's videos as well as social media. Violence allegations. Both trials include allegations of violent behavior. Young Thug is connected with multiple deletions as well as assaults related to the YSL gang, while Diddy's allegations of physical abuse, some multiple witnesses, and we all saw the Cassie video as well. So we know that. Celebrity perception. Both men are celebrities. Both men's celebrity status adds to their public intrigue and the media's attention surrounding this case. So, of course, the only reason we know about the Young Thug case is because it's Young Thug. If it was somebody else, we wouldn't even know about it. But let's keep it going. Of course, we know about the Diddy case, but these are some life-altering altercations and consequences. If convicted, both Young Thug and Diddy could face several legal consequences, including life imprisonment. I think Diddy's facing like 3 or 4 life sentences. This is craziness. All right, so let's talk about how they're different. So those are those are just 10 ways that I found that they were similar. I'm not saying that that's an exhaustive list at all, because I don't think it's really that important. I think 10 is good enough. But here are the differences. And this is where I thought we can kind of dive in tonight. Feel free to chime in down in the chat. The nature of the crime. Young Thug's case revolves around gang violence, drug trafficking, and street crime, whereas Diddy's case centers around exploitation and human trafficking. Those are I'm not saying much worse, but they're, man, trafficking and human trafficking and exploitation, those are pretty bad. Gang affiliation. Young Thug is especially tied to gang activity. And it alleged that YSL is an affiliation of the Blood Street Gang, while Diddy's case does not have any involvement in street gangs or gang activity, but rather an elaborate trafficking network. Geographical scope. And this is something that I don't think many people think about. Young Thug's activities were primarily right here in Atlanta, and really in that Southwest Atlanta area. Sure, there's some other areas, but not much. It's really kind of localized to the Atlanta metro area, whereas Diddy, his crimes are alleged to be across multiple states and even international. Like literally, these activities that he's being charged of were happening in other countries even. So that's a big difference. Timeline of alleged crimes. The charges against Young Thug cover nearly a decade, from 2012 onward, whereas Diddy's alleged activities are trafficking and spans over a larger period of time. Diddy, we've been saying this about Diddy forever, since I remember hearing this stuff about Diddy in the 90s. So we're talking about definitely 3 decades, if not more. Use of force. Diddy is accused of organizing, coercing performances and trafficking, including drugging women. In contrast, Young Thug's charges are more focused on violent street level crimes, such as deletions and armed robberies. Public image. Diddy's charges threaten his decade-long reputation as a respected businessman and music mogul. Young Thug's, despite his fame, has often had the controversial public image tied to association with criminal elements. So he didn't have the high level. I mean, again, Diddy was involved in so many different industries and such like that, and seen as fairly reputable, even though there was a lot of shadiness going on under the surface. Evidence focus. Young Thug's case heavily relies on social media and song lyrics as evidence of his gang affiliation. And most of us, if we've been watching the case, we know like that was not sitting well with most of us. We were like, what in the world are we doing? What is this? What's going on? So now, but Diddy's case focuses on physical evidence like recordings, drugs, and the testimonies of alleged victims. Whereas I think this is where the Young Thug case and the Diddy case are going to really, I think that's where they're going to hinge, because we're talking about a lot of social media, a lot of song lyrics, and unreliable witnesses. Whereas in Diddy's case, you have videos for days, evidence for days. Is problematic. Law enforcement involvement. Diddy's arrest involved Homeland Security, signaling a federal investigation, while Young Thug's case is mostly under the purview of the state and local authorities of Georgia. And that was a contrast also. I don't think that, well, we already know the Young Thug case was not as grounded and well mapped out as what we're probably going to see in the Diddy case. So keep in mind also, federal cases have to move a lot faster. So even the fact that they're talking about not starting until January, I think they're probably going to start sooner than that. But it's much more ironed out. You didn't see any kind of coordinated support for this case like you see, like the Young Thug case, like you see in the Diddy case. So I think that's going to be problematic. Let's go. Defensive strategy. Young Thug's defense strategy centers on denying the gang affiliation, arguing that YSL is just a record label. Diddy's defense so far has been to deny all charges, suggesting he's being targeted unfairly. Even though I think those are very similar, I think that there's a big difference because Diddy has a lot more evidence that is piling up against him versus the state in the YSL case. Asset forfeiture. Diddy's case involves a potential loss of hundreds of millions of dollars in assets, while Young Thug's trial has not focused heavily on asset forfeiture. So I think that's why, another reason why Young Thug is going to go the distance, because they actually have the money to do it, to go the distance. And they're not forced to give up their, Young Thug's not forced to forfeit his assets. And then bonus, both trials are monumental in their scope and implications, showcasing how the law is applied in high-profile figures in vastly different criminal worlds. So I think this is going to be super wild. So I do believe that's part of the thing that we're going to see with this Diddy trial. There's going to be a whole lot more people coming out. And a lot of you have kind of hinted about it. You know, is he going to get Epstein? Or is Diddy's list going to compare to Jeffrey Epstein's list, and so on and so forth? And who's the next person that's shoe's going to drop, and so on and so forth? I think those are very valid questions, very good questions actually. But I think when the smoke clears, we are going to see a much better run case, if you will. And somebody just mentioned it right here. 9 out of 10 federal cases plead guilty. Why? Because they're well thought out, and they're not coming for you unless they got everything they need for you. So this should give the mayor of, I think it's Oakland, the mayor of Oakland, they raided her home about 2 months ago. The mayor of Dalton, Illinois, Tiffany Enyart, they raided her home recently. Not her home, I'm sorry, City Hall recently. So there's a lot of people that need to be like panicking, like, yo, when the feds come after you, they might move slow, but when they come, they move for sure. So that's something to think about. I don't think any other names have been tied to P. Diddy's, but I got a feeling there are going to be a ton of plea deals, even before they even get out there in the front. They're going to just want to plead. Once you call on them, they're going to be like, look, I'm pleading out right now. What are you offering? What do you need? So Jay-Z might be clutching his pearls. I don't know. Yeah, maybe P. Diddy is the smaller fish. What about that? What if P. Diddy is not the big fish? Maybe he's a small fish. Something to think about. Yeah, the feds just handle this differently. Now, I'm really intrigued, and hopefully we'll be able to at least see some of it, even though federal cases are not live streamed. I would just love to be able to see some of it and how the difference and contrast is between how the feds do it and how Fulton County has been doing this RICO case. Because I do think there's going to be a lot to see there. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Kenya. I think You know what? You know what? All right. That's what I think is going to happen with Mr. Sean P. Diddy Combs. I think he is going to absolutely do just that. He is going to throw everybody else under the bus. If there's a bus to be thrown under, if there's somebody to be thrown under it, he is going to throw them under it for sure. And yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. And sadly, I don't think we're going to be able to see it because they don't live stream it. But I wish they did. If they live streamed it, my goodness, in the morning. That would be some craziness. I saw some people even talk about it right here. Yeah, Clive Davis. I've heard lots of Clive Davis' name popping up. I didn't hear about L.A. Reid, but I definitely heard Clive Davis' name pop up. If you go on Twitter or X, I mean, just the amount of memes that have popped up about P. Diddy is crazy. It's craziness. So yeah, he's not built for prison. He ain't built for prison. No, he gonna probably try his way. But I mean, he gonna go one way or another. I don't think he's gonna be able to sing himself out of getting into prison. I don't think there's any way out of there. Yeah, definitely. Tiffany Henyar's next. Definitely Tiffany Henyar's next. And since they're in Illinois, they don't film theirs either. They don't live stream theirs either. So that's gonna be that problem too. They need to move her down here to Georgia, man. Run that down here to Georgia. We'll take that.